Okay, so LSU was able to beat Mississippi State, grind one out against the Bulldogs for the third time this season. And Saints come up with a pretty impressive road win on the Baltimore Ravens. All that coming up. Okay, welcome to Cajun Connection. I'm your host, John Behrens.
And I'm Joshua Perkins.
So that was a pretty tough game for LSU against Mississippi State.
Well,
And I will be honest, the first half, for the first time in a very long time, I've actually been disinterested in an LSU football game.
Well, I was at work, but I was keeping up with it on Gamecast. But I can honestly say that through watching the Gamecast, the LSU offense really struggled.
The first drive aside, 15 total yards offense. The lone touchdown coming on a 2-yard run on third down
After a Michael Divinity interception
to the 2-yard line.
Now, I can honestly say that LSU truly lived up to their name, DBU, that night. I mean,
They did.
Now, granted, Nick Fitzgerald, he coming to this game, he struggled throwing the ball. But, I never thought I would see him struggle the way he did this past Saturday night. Listen to this from Nick Fitzgerald. 8 for 24, 59 yards, and 4 picks. 4 picks. That's pretty bad. He did have 23 carries for 131 yards, but that just shows how one-dimensional Mississippi State's offense is. And another thing, what grinded my gears, because, this college football world could just be so cheeky. So Devin White pressured Nick Fitzgerald. Now, this was after Nick Fitzgerald, got the ball out of his hands. And basically, in a way to try and pressure Nick Fitzgerald to throw the ball. He pushed him. Now, if you look at the replay, it might look like that Devin White's head made contact with Nick Fitzgerald, but not really. Do you think his head made contact with Nick Fitzgerald's helmet?
No, from what I could see, it didn't really make contact with his helmet. He more or less pushed him down.
He did push him down, but the referees wanted to make Nick Fitzgerald sit out a whole play to make it look worse than what it was. And because of that, Devin White got ejected, and he will also miss the first half of probably the biggest game of the season for LSU. Pretty much a game where LSU season is pretty much on the line, where postseason hopes are on the line as they go up against the Alabama Crimson Tide, whose offense is pretty fast. And they're a type of offense that when you fall behind against them, there is no coming back. Alabama, yeah, of course, you play football, you're playing 60 minutes. Technically you are, but you look at Alabama, not really. For the first time this season, Alabama's going to get tested. They're going to have their backs against the wall. They're going to finally feel pressure. They're going to know what it's like to be down. When going against Georgia came to the LSU game, last weekend as one of the more dominant teams in the nation. But one thing people said, how will Georgia handle being down? How will they handle the pressure? How will they handle the noise in Tiger Stadium? How will they handle their backs against the wall? Well, you got your answer. We're going to get an answer to another question on November 3rd. How will Alabama handle having their backs against the wall in front of over 100,000 crazy Tiger fans? The window is now for LSU. Their window is now.
Yeah. But it's going to take a lot better offensive performance than what we saw.
Oh, most definitely. The offense. I feel that to beat Alabama, offense has to be consistent.
Borsett was the lead rusher with 57 yards on 17 carries.
Now,
D. Anderson, 3 receptions, 29 yards. Woo!
Now, don't get me wrong. Mississippi State actually has a very stout defense.
They've
always had a stout defense.
They have a very stout defense. I do not argue that point at all.
But to be honest, I did expect better from LSU. I expected so much more from the LSU offense, considering how they did against Georgia, considering how proficient Joe Burrow was throwing the ball, considering how well they were running the ball, and that was Joe Burrow, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Nick Brossette. They all ran the ball very well against that Georgia front seven. I expected more from them, and they're going to be going against a tougher front seven when they go against Alabama. And this front seven is ruthless.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, LSU, in order to beat Alabama, LSU has to play aggressive. The aggressiveness that we saw at the Georgia game, we'll have to see that same aggressiveness against Alabama. And also LSU has to play clean because I guarantee you those refs are going to find every reason to throw a flag out there on LSU to give Alabama some type of edge. There's a bias for Alabama. Whether you believe me or not, you don't have to believe me. If I'm wrong, I stand to be corrected. But, I mean, you look at that Devin White. Let's talk about Devin White for a quick second. Devin White is the field general for LSU's defense. He's pretty much he's the commanding general for that defense on the field. He is the second leading tackler in the SEC. He's a top draft prospect. And with him on the field for the LSU defense, LSU's chance of success significantly rises with him on the field. Just due to how aggressive he is, how he commands that defense, and the leadership presence that he carries, and just the way he plays. His grit, his resiliency, just his that warrior spirit that he has. Having him off the field can probably most likely affect LSU's chances significantly. And I feel that's why that flag was thrown on him for targeting and why he got ejected. Because they know when Alabama gets ahead, there's no stopping them. With having Devin White on that field can greatly decrease Alabama's chances of getting ahead early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We have to see, obviously we'll find out in about 2 weeks, but we have to see if LSU's defense, because that is going to have to change their game plan. Being without Devin White will cause them to play differently, not insane differently, but
I mean they lost Kayvon Chase in the first game of the season, and I didn't see a huge change in their defensive game plan.
No, but let's come out and say this. Bama's not going to come out and just torch the secondary.
They're not. They're going to try to run that ball.
They're going to try to run the ball, exactly, because run game is a little bit of LSU's weakness.
I mean, they had a hard time stopping the run against Ole Miss. They had a hard time stopping the run for a while against Georgia until they had Georgia fall behind. But it's going to be back to the game with Bama.
What caused Georgia to not be able to catch up as well is they abandoned the run and they tried to beat LSU through the air, which you're not going to do. Not with Phillips and Williams sitting in Divinity sitting back there.
And John Battle as well.
And John Battle. We can't forget about John Battle.
And Fulton sitting back there at corner.
Case in point.
So Tua Tagovailoa, he's going for the first time actually face a secondary.
Exactly.
And so this is going to be Tua's first time stepping into Tiger Stadium, first off. Do you feel that in this game? Do you feel that Alabama might have to tell Tua, let Jalen maybe handle this? Jalen Hurts, he knows that LSU team better than Tua does.
I would not be surprised at all. I would not put it past Saban. Saban is going to go with the best option that gives him the best chance of winning.
What you think Saban did against Georgia in the national championship game? He went with a freshman guy who, honestly, he makes better decisions than Jalen does out there. But at the same time, this LSU defense seems as if they evolved over the past season.
Mm-hmm.
That this is a totally different LSU team than last season that went down to Tuscaloosa and flopped. And so, I
wouldn't say they flopped.
Alabama was just a better team last season. They were a lot better.
Yeah.
But, you know what I'm trying to say. But going down to Tiger Stadium, it's a lot different than being in Bryant-Denny Stadium. It's a lot different. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Tide go with Tagovailoa or they go with Hurts. Well, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But, both teams are going to be battle tested, and this is going to be a game of inches. Every yard in this game is going to be earned.
Yeah. One of the things I need to see from Joe Burrow is the go get 'em grit that he showed early on. I'm not saying that he's lost that, but it is not as evident as it was when first grinded out. Just the whole Mississippi State game, just something about the offense and his performance.
It's just they wasn't themselves. I mean, it was like they did a negative, like a bad 180 turn from the Georgia game.
Yeah, I mean it was, and not to downplay State's defense or anything, but it wasn't even a performance that looked like a team going up against a good defense. They just didn't perform well.
I mean, and not taking any credit from Mississippi State's team, it's just the LSU. I mean, LSU only picked up 239 yards of total offense. I mean, it was just LSU's offense was just that bad that night. And like you said, I mean, they're not taking credit from Mississippi State because Mississippi State actually has a stout defense. It's just that LSU's offense was just that bad that night. And there's a lot of things that Steve Ensminger has to clean up on that offense.
Yeah, and it's just kind of going back to Joe Burrow. It's like going into the game against Miami. I mean, he sat there on national television and said, "I'm wearing number 9. Come find me."
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Well, he said the day of the game.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So I mean, it's not like we have a slouch at quarterback.
Oh no, Joe Burrow has a lot of confidence. I mean, and I feel that's the confidence that Urban Meyer instilled in him when he was at Ohio State. And just kind of with Joe Burrow, what he should be thinking, he's out there in the field, or if he has to make a decision, what would Urban want me to do?
Yeah,
Urban Meyer, I mean, he's a guy that he could put anybody at quarterback, and he will take shots at whoever he's going against.
And arguably, I mean, they're going to be going up against the best pass rush they have faced all season. And again, Bama's pass rush is about on par with that of Florida, and we saw how LSU handled Florida's pass rush, and that was not very well.
It wasn't very well. I mean, that Florida front seven gave Joe Burrow all types of problems.
Yeah, half the time he didn't even see them coming.
Exactly. I mean, and this is an offensive line that is wounded. Pretty much musical chairs in that offensive line. Lots of question marks surrounding them. I mean, they were able to answer the bell against Georgia. I mean, the way they were able to open up holes for their run game, the way they were able to make their blocks and be on their assignments. And another question would be, can they hang with this Alabama front seven?
Yeah.
And a lot of people are going to say, most definitely not.
Maybe we could see if Andrew Whitworth still has any eligibility left.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin Mawai or Alan Fenica, y'all think y'all can play for like at least one game? Go through NCAA? We could use you.
Well, yeah. I mean, Whitworth is still playing.
Hey, Lyle Collins, you think you can come back for one more game, please? No, but I mean, I have full faith and confidence in our LSU offensive line. I mean, you look at a young offensive line. I mean, dang near the whole offense is young.
Speaking of offensive line, though, dude, have you seen some of the guys that Coach O has recruited?
Oh, I know one. Cardell Thomas, the #1 offensive guard in the nation from Southern Lab. We're talking about a guy who's about 6'4", weighing around 348 pounds. And the guy is athletic. The guy can move. I watched his film from when he was going to these camps, and he has that swagger. He has that aura to him. And he says that, and I was watching the interview, he was like, I just want to be the best that I can be. And there would be times where I would wake up and go for a workout 5 a.m. just because I felt like that the day before I didn't get enough. Like, the guy has a mission, and that's to dominate every single play. And the guy dominates to the whistle. I feel that him and Joe Burrow are going to be really good friends next season.
Oh, yeah. LSU actually has a couple of recruits from Southern Lab coming in this year. Their running back also.
LSU has one of the top recruiting class in 2019, right?
Right, and I almost say a pair of the top 5 defensive backs.
I mean, LSU's DBU. That's where a lot of their great defensive backs went. I mean, you look at guys like Tyrann Mathieu, Patrick Peterson, Mo Claiborne, Jamal Adams. That's just to name a few.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Mills. That's just to name a few.
Right. All right. New Orleans Saints at the Baltimore Ravens.
The ghost of Tom Benson strikes again. Because going to this game, Justin Tucker, throughout his whole career, has never missed an extra point. I mean, we talk about Justin Tucker, who's a Ravens kicker, for those who may not know. We could probably be talking about the most automatic kicker in the league.
Missed his first extra point in his entire career.
Which happened to have costed the Ravens the game.
It did.
I was like, because when Joe Flacco threw that touchdown to John Brown with about 20-something seconds left in the game, I'm just like, oh, Lord, we about to go into overtime.
I thought it was going to be an overtime
That defense completely just gave up on that last drive.
Well, you know, they ran the prevent defense, and yet I've yet to see how the prevent defense has done anything useful.
I mean, the only time you should run a prevent defense is when it's like the last play of the game.
Yeah.
You don't run prevent defense when there's like 2 minutes left in the game and the Ravens still have a chance to come back. You run the prevent when there's like maybe I want to say at least 8-9 seconds on the clock. Your opponent has no timeouts and they only have time for one more play. That's when you run the prevent, because your main goal is to keep your opponent out the end zone. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't run it in a 2-minute defense.
Well, they did.
Honestly, in the 2-minute defense, the only people I'm sending are my defensive linemen. I'm having my linebackers and my secondary all on coverage, making sure the whole field is covered.
Mm-hmm. But, you know, they got absolutely no pressure on Joe Flacco in that final drive.
I don't think he got sacked at all Sunday, huh?
They got one, and I think it was Cam Jordan.
How many sacks he got? He got about like...
Let's see. I'm pretty sure they got at least one sack. I'm curious about that now. Pull that game up. Baltimore, New Orleans.
Also, what I'm like about it, I mean, I'm starting to see more production out of Traquan Smith.
Traquan Smith,
He's starting to get a little more comfortable in the in his you know, just the way, like, you know, he's carrying himself on the field. He's getting more comfortable in the system.
Yeah, he's see how many catches it. You know, okay, 3 catches, 44 yards, on six targets, so 50% catch rate right there. It's not too bad against Baltimore.
I mean, the crazy thing is that Drew Brees only threw to, I want to say, 6 targets that whole game. When usually Drew Brees is throwing to about 9, 10, 11 targets.
Yeah.
That's just going to show how good that Ravens defense is. Sorry about that. But, I mean, that Ravens defense, they're pretty stout. I mean, for the most part, Saints had a hard time running the ball. The receivers, they had a hard time, you know, creating separation. But I have to say I was pretty, you know, impressed, you know, overall with the Ravens.
Okay, here it is.
Defense. The Saints defense I was impressed with until towards the end of the game.
Alex Okafor, he came up with the only sack on the game, so they did have one.
Alex Okafor. Now, what do the Saints got to do in order to beat L.A.? Well, Minnesota's next.
Yeah, I was about to say Vikings are next, and that's in Minneapolis. Well,
I feel with Drew Brees at first, because the Saints' offensive line is wounded as well. I mean, Andrews Pete was out with an injury, and Josh Rebus also got hurt. So they got in their third string left guard, I want to say.
Tom.
Yeah. And so, I mean, Saints' offensive line got to step up because, I mean, they're going against a very good Minnesota defense. And they're going to be in U.S. Bank Stadium. So, with Drew Brees at quarterback, you know, with the weapons they got, they have a chance to go ahead and, you know, keep the crowd out the game because the U.S. Bank Stadium gets pretty loud. It's inside, so the noise is compacted.
Well, obviously the Saints intended to come out and just run it down the Ravens' throats, which they didn't do too bad of a job on.
I mean, they converted on 3-4 downs that drive. 4.
Three fourth down tries on the opening drive that they ended up just fumbling on. But yes.
I mean, those are the last fourth down conversion they fumbled on, and I mean the option was drew up perfectly. Had Taysom Hill and pitch it to Alvin Kamara, and Alvin Kamara would maintain possession of the ball. He would have at least gotten the first down on that one, at least.
But Kamara had 17 carries for 64 yards.
Told you.
Taysom Hill had 6 carries for 35. He actually outperformed Mark Ingram, who had 32 yards on 12 carries.
I mean, and honestly, I wasn't expecting much out the run game in this game because, I mean, you look at the Ravens defense. Yeah, I mean, they went up against a struggling offense like Tennessee. But Marcus Mariota led offense and the Drew Brees led offense are two totally different entities. But I still knew that the Ravens, I mean, every time the Saints and the Ravens play each other, the Ravens always competing very well with the Saints. Always.
Oh, they had, let's see. The last win over the Ravens had been 2002.
That was before Drew Brees.
Yeah.
Ravens had always had the Saints number, but I mean, it's always been a game that eluded Drew Brees his entire career because, I mean, he never.
Well, I mean, he's only faced them 3 times prior to this. This was try number 4.
Well, I'm also talking about the time he was in San Diego as well. You also got to remember,
right?
Chargers and he used to be in the same division with the Ravens.
Not at San Diego.
San Diego was AFC. They were AFC.
Oh, you said you're talking conference.
Conference, same conference.
Yeah, you said division.
It's been a long day. You know what I mean?
Actually, no, I didn't. You said division.
I meant to say conference.
Okay, I'll take your word at it.
Okay, we good. All right.
But
it's been a long day, people.
Yeah, so Drew Brees actually set some more records and more milestones in the game. Became only the 3rd player to beat all 32 teams.
Quarterback, y'all.
Let's see, what else did he do? He joined the 500 club. He's now at 501.
And counting.
And counting, yeah.
He's at over 72,000 pass yards and counting. So whoever wants to break that all-time passing yards record, good luck with that. I hope you feel like
I read an article recently of who has like the best chance to break Drew Brees' record, and
who is it?
Well, obviously Tom Brady, who's like right behind him statistically.
But how many yards?
Almost 5,000 yards.
Oh, hope he has fun with that. I hope he feels like being in the league for like, I won't say like maybe 3-4 more years. Because I mean, Drew Brees is going to play this season. He's going to play next season. So Tom Brady has a ways to go.
Tom Brady is more likely going to end up retiring a year or 2 before Brees does. I wouldn't be surprised if he retires at the end of this year, to be honest with you.
I mean, he's 41 years old now.
Yeah, he's pretty old. And well, Brees is 39, so it's not like Brees is a spring chicken.
But I mean, you look at Tom Brady; he hasn't really hit that age like drop off. He's still putting up mass production. He's still putting up numbers. He's still winning games. I mean,
he's still winning games, but he is not the Tom Brady he was even 5 years ago.
Oh, the Tom Brady of old was just lethal. I mean, it's kind of like now. I mean, still Tom Brady. I mean, you still can't put anything past him. He's still formidable. He's still lethal. In my opinion, he's still one of the most lethal quarterbacks in the league.
No, but I think Matt Ryan was the next one in line with the best chance of passing Tom Brady's with a 14% chance of breaking this record.
Oh. I mean, I don't see Matt Ryan being in the league till he's in his 40s. Honestly, I mean, I don't see him, being in the league as long as like Tom Brady has been.
I don't know. The Falcons keep him off the grass pretty. He doesn't get sacked like a ridiculous amount of times.
Oh, he has this season though.
Yeah, this season, but there was a year that Drew Brees actually got sacked pretty significantly, like I want to say like 30 plus times at least. Let's see, that was 15. 2015 was a pretty bad year for the Saints.
It was, and then they still went
7-9 somehow. You know, don't know how that worked, but okay. No, if we want to talk people with legit possibilities, we're probably looking at best Patrick Mahomes or maybe Carson Wentz, but they have to perform at ridiculously high levels for a long time,
and they're gonna have to really up their game, and they're gonna have to really accelerate pretty much the way they throw the ball and just in their production each game.
Because I mean, you think about it. Drew Brees is probably going to retire with around 80,000 yards passing.
Most likely, he's probably going to put up another 2, maybe close to 3,000 yards this season.
This year, yeah.
This year alone.
And
then he's probably going to put up maybe another close to another 5,000 next season if he comes back. And so you're definitely right. So 80,000 does seem. I mean, if you think about Drew Brees' production over his career, especially since he's joined the Saints, 80,000 seems very realistic, especially if you're talking about the greatest and most accurate passer in the league, and that's Drew Brees. And so guys with Patrick Mahomes and Carson Wentz, they're gonna have to pass at I'm talking alarming godlike rates.
Completing 77% of their passes type rate.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hope they're ready for lots of therapy. And when I'm talking about Drew Brees, I'm talking about the same Drew Brees that had arthroscopic surgery on his arm after he injured it in his last game at San Diego. You're talking about a guy fresh off, arm surgery, gets signed with a team, and then next thing you know, he's passing 78% completion percentages, and he's having 5,000 yard seasons.
So I am a bit curious though, how much of Drew Brees' development is Drew Brees just being that good versus coming into Sean Payton's system? Because Sean Payton has to key in there somehow.
Well, I mean,
would Brees really have continued on to develop the way he has under at the time was Stottenmeyer and then Norv Turner?
Well, if you look at who the Chargers had, say if he didn't get hurt, and say the Chargers didn't have one of their worst seasons, honestly, I felt that he wouldn't have. Due to the simple fact, they had one of the best rushing games with LaDainian Tomlinson. They had LT in his prime. Right. And so, LT was a workhorse. With a workhorse like that, he wouldn't have been passing the ball as much as he's been doing now. And not only that, offensive plays, like playbooks these days, have evolved and they've gotten deeper in today's modern technology. Technology has grown, technology has evolved, and so coaches have a new way to deepen and widen out their playbooks. And so I feel that Drew Brees probably wouldn't have eclipsed these type of numbers had he stayed with San Diego. Or, say, he left San Diego. Say, yeah, he did get hurt and he did have to find a new team. Under Nick Saban's system in Miami, he wouldn't have been doing it. He wouldn't have been eclipsing the same numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt that, he was a quarterback perfectly designed for Sean Payton's system. At first, Sean Payton wanted Tony Romo to go with him to New Orleans. But in Dallas, they needed a quarterback, so Tony Romo was right there. So Sean Payton had to start from square one, and he saw Drew Brees.
Yeah. It's a wonder how the Saints ended up with Brees and Payton in the same house.
Let's just say it has been a wonderful marriage.
Yeah, it feels like a marriage sometimes.
It does. But it's kind of like Drew Brees is kind of like an assistant coach on that field. He makes Sean Payton's job and Pete Carmichael's job very easy out there.
Okay, so we kind of you can safely say we've rabbit trailed a little bit, but yeah, I like talking about Drew Brees. So
I like talking about him too. Got a problem with it? Want to fight about it?
Next game coming up, primetime slot with the Vikings.
Sunday night.
And then it is home in the Dome against the Rams the following week. So back-to-back key games.
And so this pretty much going to be statement games for the Saints. I mean, you're going against a very tough Minnesota team who is a pretty good team at home at a U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. Then they're going against the Rams team, in which whether the Rams are on the road or at home, the Rams are an elite squad. You have probably one of the best. You have a top 3 offense led by Jared Goff, Brandon Cooks, Cooper Kupp, Todd Gurley, Robert Woods. Yeah. I mean, I'm just stating off names, and you have a defense that's trying to find their stride, trying to really find their footing.
You know, I mean, the Saints today just traded for
Eli Apple to be corner, and honestly, the pick with Eli Apple at corner, I feel that with Patrick Robinson going down, with him being put on IR, I feel that with Eli Apple, he's going to add that veteran leadership to the cornerback core that has Marshawn Lattimore, Ken Crawley, Justin Hardy, P.J. Williams. That's a very young core of cornerbacks.
Yeah.
You need to have some type of veteran in there that's going to take the lead and take those guys under their wing. And having Eli Apple out there in that field, I feel that with Crawley and Lattimore and Williams and Hardy, I feel that their game is going to evolve with Eli Apple out there. So I feel it's a really good pickup.
Yeah. I just didn't know too much about Eli Apple. I mean, it made sense that they traded for a cornerback. I figured they were going to try to pick up someone on the defensive secondary side.
I mean, and honestly, I feel that Eli Apple, I feel that was a solid pickup for the Saints. In my opinion. You're entitled to your opinion.
I mean, you know, there was a lot of rumors floating around of the Saints possibly targeting Patrick Peterson, which I didn't think they had assets for it.
I mean, do you know how many people the Saints would have had to give it up? They would first off, they had to make some hard trades, and they would have to make some hard releases to free up some salary cap space due to the fact that Patrick Peterson is a high value player who's been all pro ever since coming to the league.
Yeah. I mean, just one of the best cornerbacks in the league right now, and arguably of all time. But, you know, kind of stuck on an Arizona team that really has not been able to achieve much since Kurt Warner.
I mean, their best success, came, when they had Carson Palmer the year they went to the NFC Championship game before getting demolished by the Panthers. I mean, the Cardinals finished franchise record 13-3, but there was a team that was better than them, which was the 15-1 Panthers that season.
Yeah. So New Orleans, a little active as usual in the trading market, which they've shown time and again. They're not afraid to trade even quality players.
I mean, I've seen that in the past.
A little bit in the here and now for New Orleans, because they now have one pick in the top first 4 rounds in next year's draft.
I mean, it just shows that the Saints, they plan on moving forward with the team that they have, and the team that they have, strictly. So,
okay. Before we wrap this up, let's talk a little bit about the New Orleans Pelicans.
We probably looking at probably the highest scoring team in the league right now through 2 games.
Ridiculous. 121 points opening week over the Rockets.
131 points.
Oh, excuse me, 131 points.
So pretty much,
149
against Sacramento. So you're looking at a team that's averaging 140 points a game in the first 2 games.
You know.
Their average is 140 points, and right now they're playing against the LA Clippers right now.
And it looks like they're leading 19-18 with 2:48 to go.
Now, are they going to be scoring that much every game? No. But I'm enjoying the wave.
But the fact they can put up 149 points.
That's something that I would expect out the NBA All-Star team. That's something you would see at an All-Star game or some, at the Rising Stars Challenge.
And,
not from a Pelicans team.
You look at it and okay, so is their defense bad, or they're just that good on offense to where they don't need defense?
2 words. 2 words only. Anthony Davis. Period.
Oh yeah, well, of course Anthony Davis, but
you look at the guys that they got. They have Drew Holiday out there. They also have Etwan Moore, who is starting to evolve his game. I mean, he's a guy that he's kind of a sharpshooter from 3-point line. You also have Julius Randle, who they got from the Lakers. You got Jahlil Okafor, who is trying to revitalize his career with the Saints with the Pelicans after having such a raw deal. After kind of being shafted when he was in Philadelphia.
And then, the big ones that have been, of course, Anthony Davis. Julius Randle has also put up some points.
And also, Nico Mirotic has also, forwarded himself as...
He's top 30 points the first 2 games.
And, Nico Mirotic, he's also a sharpshooter as well, but he's also a guy who could play big man in the paint. He's versatile. He's not as athletic as Anthony Davis, but he is a solid contributor for this Pelicans team, and he's really... progress himself as to be one of the leaders in that locker room.
Now, here's the question. And obviously, 2 games is a very small sample.
Out of 82 games.
Out of 82, 2 down, 80 to go. Are we looking at a potential scenario where we look back at the season and go, DeMarcus who?
We could be looking at that. I was kind of mad that DeMarcus Cousins left, but then I had to think to myself, we had DeMarcus Cousins, but DeMarcus Cousins, his thing was, and you look at the mass production he put up with Sacramento, but Sacramento never had success as a team. You look at the production he was putting up with the Pelicans, especially last season before he went down. The Pelicans were barely hanging on for dear life in the playoff race when Cousins went down. When Cousins went down, the Pelicans actually played a lot better. The Pelicans, were able to go in the first round and knock off one of the hottest teams going to the playoffs, which was the Portland Trail Blazers, one of the hottest shooting teams led by Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum, and they were able to sweep them in the first round.
Yeah, and then
this is a third-seeded team.
Destroyed by Golden State.
That means the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
The Golden State Warriors, they got all-stars in the team. You got Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andre Iguodala, Kevin Durant. Do I need to go on?
No.
All right, then.
And I think that's our preview for your basketball street beat, sir.
Oh, I will be ranting this season. Golden State makes me sick. I will be ranting. But anyways, we got to wrap it up because I got to do laundry.
All right. Well, that's been this week's episode of Cajun Connection. 11 in already. I'm John Behrens.
I'm Joshua Perkins.
Follow us on Twitter at AI Sports 3 and on Facebook at AI Sports Network, or you can find us on Apple Podcast. Yeah, thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Cajun Connection. Signing out.
Going on a trip on our favorite rocket ship. Let me stop.